First Baptist people. Last week we noticed when we walked into the places where the ranchers lived that often there were signs that prompted positive behavior. And I noticed several times that there were signs that talked about the importance of one of the most important things that we carry with us everywhere we go, and that is our dentures. No, our smiles. That's one of the most important ways that we greet one another. And we value humor and enthusiasm. Therefore, if you act enthusiastic, then you feel enthusiastic. If you act enthusiastic, then you feel enthusiastic. There's a lot of joy at Rainbow Acres, a lot of laughter, and we appreciate humor, don't we?
Yes.
And we talked about a lot of humor and what's appropriate and not. And all of my jokes were filtered out. But we do have some humor to start our day to help us.
We would call these grandpa jokes.
Yes, he's a grandpa. I'm not.
What goes tick-tock and woof-woof?
A watchdog.
What is cheese that's not your cheese?
Nacho cheese.
What do you get when you cross an elephant with a potato?
Elephant ear. Elephant ear.
Mashed potato.
What did one eye say to the other eye? Between you and me, something smells.
How does the ocean say hello?
Wait.
Wait. These are smart people.
And the classic from the third grade, what has 4 wheels and flies?
A garbage truck. And one of the rangers knew that too, and I gave him a high five, so he gave a high five. What did one wall say to the other wall?
I'll meet you in the corner.
Yay!
And last, and probably happily, why don't dinosaurs eat clowns?
It tastes funny.
Yay! Amen. We had, after this part, we had a session where we asked all the ranchers what their concerns were and their prayers for others, and they were always concerned and care. It was amazing how many prayers were said during that short time that we were with them in the morning. But it was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But we're going to kind of reflect on our trip from this week. And so I have some questions prepared that we're going to let these fine people respond to as they think back on the week that we spent at Rainbow Acres in Camp Verde, Arizona. Right? All right, so this is the first question. What was the most fun thing you did this week? What was the most fun thing you did this week? You got to speak up really loud.
I'll try.
Oh, here we
I
go.
think the most fun actually was being with the ranchers and sharing their love and insights and their capabilities. They do marvelous things. That was really fun to see.
Yeah. How about somebody else? What was the most fun thing you did this week?
They had an activity room, and in there was a pool table, and there was also a basketball court, and I played with like at least 8 of the Rangers in many different games and stuff. It was really awesome.
Yeah.
And it was fun to work as a team.
It was fun to work with them.
There were 3 nights that we ate in the ranchers' residences, and we spent time with them and shared, and we laughed a lot. There were lots of things that were amusing and fun that we just shared it.
Yeah. Barb or Meg, either one of you have something that was really fun?
Mine was all of them, all of it was
All of it was fun? Meg, do you want to add? Same here.
Fun.
All right. All right, so this is my second question then. What was the hardest or most challenging part of this experience?
Physically, the hardest part was we were asked to take the carpeting up from a building because they were moving the ranchers from one to another. And it was hard to pull up, but then it was very hard to throw away too, because they gave us this huge thing that was about this tall to try to get it up into, and there were the three of us.
He's not the best trailer for it.
I'm going to change that. The most fun thing was backing that trailer and jackknifing it so badly that we had to take it apart to get it out. That was me, and my daughter, I'm sure, would drive much better.
So, somebody else, Barb.
The hardest part for me was leaving.
She gave an answer for all of us.
Yes, I was gonna say the same thing, the hardest part, because we know we weren't gonna be there the next day, as we had been there all week.
Yeah. So what was the most meaningful moment or activity of the week for you? What was that moment that just really was meaningful for you?
I can start.
Okay.
Each morning, we got together with any of the ranchers that wanted to for a prayer time. And each time that we did that, there was a prayer, but then they asked for cares and concerns, much like we do. And it was really fascinating that the people cared for their family, they cared for their friends. If there was someone that was sick, they asked for prayers. And so that was really it brought us all together.
Something that was really meaningful to me is when we go to dinner, there is one of the people there was named Thomas, and every time that I walk in, he would welcome me with a big hug.
Oh. Anybody else have a really, Kevin?
I did.
Pass it to Kevin.
There was a rancher that I ended up spending quite a bit of time with. I ate meals at the house where he lived, and his name is Daniel. He has a bachelor's degree, and he is brilliant, and I think he may have been the smartest person in the room, often. But he had 1,001 questions for me, and he found out what I do for a living, hospice chaplain, so the conversation went in that direction. And every time we had to stop and go do something else, we'd come back, and it was like he knew exactly where we were in the conversation. But I'm afraid I came away realizing that I had underestimated people. And there's a brilliance present in many of the ranchers that is untapped. And that was the most, I suppose, the most eye-opening experience for me.
Anybody else? What was a really meaningful moment or experience for you?
Kind of along what Kevin was saying, because out in this world, it was almost like going in and our roles were reversed because they were the ones teaching us. We were the ones that were learning. And they were a part of this community where they shared this bond that is just even hard to describe. And the way that they helped each other, because they had all been in a society that often didn't see them as equals. And in this environment, they were equal to everybody else. And that was just, yeah, absolutely.
We had one rancher, her name was Patty, and we had dinner with her at this house at Cornell. And she could, they said she could play the piano. So we wanted to see her play the piano. So we asked her to play for us. And she played some very good classical music. You wouldn't have no idea this lady could play the piano. And it was really touching to know that we all have abilities, regardless who we are. God gives us all abilities. And it's just amazing to see that in the people there.
Well, I may be repeating myself, but just seeing them and sharing the love that they have for everybody, just amazing, really.
I had another thing. When we were walking down this hallway, I don't know if you saw it, but to get into the dining room where we came from, when you turn, there's a bunch of artwork, and it is amazing how much like the beautiful things that they can make. They made scarves and all kinds of beautiful artwork.
Yeah, and related to that, if you so they had a gift shop where they sold the things that the ranchers make. And so one day we got to go shopping and we all had fun doing that. And it helps support Rainbow Acres. And so there's a table back here with some of the things that we saw and bought. So I would encourage you after service to come back here and look at what's on the table.
I might say we bought a lot more than this.
Yes, we did buy a lot more than this.
Because fortunately, the Freestones are bringing things home so that we didn't have to pay transportation.
Yeah,
to get
right.
here.
Yes. All right.
Can I say something that I
Sure.
heard?
Yes.
The first thing I heard when Barb got home was how she could balance
Oh,
a broom handle.
Yeah.
There's a picture
And there's
there.
pictures on there.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did a lot of that.
Yes.
It was a joy to have along.
He was.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Jesse may only be 14, but I will tell you, he worked like a grown man all week. And he never complained. He was a joy to be around. So.
And you could reach the top shelf.
And he can reach higher than the rest of us. Yes, that's true. So, all right. So where did you see God at work on this trip?
Right? I saw God in the choir that they put together. They have a choir that travels around the state of Arizona and sings everywhere, in churches and at events. And they sang Amazing Grace, and there were 3 solos in that song for them. And it was beautiful. It was very, very well done. I could not get up and leave. I was there, the only one watching their practice, but I couldn't leave.
Just in kind of an overall sense, 45 years ago, the ranch didn't exist. There was nothing there. And I imagine there may be other places like Rainbow Acres, but I don't know where they are. But it took the vision of a man and God's blessing. And I'm sure it was hard, but I'm sure he persisted and was passionate. And this community now exists. And the very fact that it exists is a testimony to God's power.
I went to another one of the choir rehearsals, and it was such a joy to watch. They were having so much fun. They were excellent singers. Their director and their pianist were just amazing people. They just had nothing but joy as they sang and practiced.
How many residents?
They had 90.
Their choir was here several years ago.
They remembered that.
There was like 2 or 3
They remembered
Stayed
that.
in my place.
Yeah.
mentioned that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I did talk to their choir director asking when they were going to do another tour. And he said, well, he's only been there 8 months, but that would be something that he would bring up to the board, understanding that it's expensive and all sorts of details about medications you take and all that sort of thing. But hopefully, I told him we want to be on the list of places to stop.
I would also add, one of the things where I saw God at work was, you go into a lot of institutional facilities, and the people working there sometimes just seem like they're there for a paycheck. Every staff person I met at Rainbow Acres was passionate and enthusiastic about being there. You could tell they loved the ranchers. I did not meet anybody that I thought was just there to collect a paycheck. So, anybody else where you saw God at work? Barb? Oh, Jesse?
Mine actually has nothing to do with me, but one day after lunch, there's, one of the ranchers' names is Riley, and he rides a 3-wheel bike that has a little basket in the back. And one of the ladies was walking with her lunchbox, and it was full. And you could tell because she was struggling carrying it. And he walked up and he was like, "Can I take that for you?" And rode his bike all the way.
Oh, wait, these guys can't.
I was writing a little bit every day about what we were doing. And Sunday was when we went across the street to a little tiny church building. Nothing fancy, but we walked in. It was very clear that the ranchers really liked the pastor and vice versa. We sang a lot of songs, heard some scripture, did some prayers for the people. I sat next to a girl whose name was Elizabeth. She immediately wrapped her arm around mine and held my hand, and we happily stayed that way all through the service. And it was only Sunday, but that had been my best moment, my happiest moment, and it just got better from there.
Could I have that? He won't say this on his own, but Kevin saw God shortly after we got there when he was bitten by, stung by a scorpion. We had talked all the time before we went about the wildlife that we were going to see. We didn't expect it to happen so soon. And it was like a bee sting, but it lasted the whole rest of the time for him. And I'm sure that his finger's still numb. Well, we voted to give him a survivor ribbon. He wants to wear this the rest of the day.
May, did you want to add anything about where you saw God at work?
Well, I'm kind of like Kevin. I saw God giving Jack Showers the vision to build this place here and where he built it. Because that's God's country out there, you know. You got the trees, the mountains, all the greenery and all, and it's just very peaceful. So that's why I saw God.
We saw God in the stars too. We went out on a couple of occasions stargazing, and we looked deep into the universe because the stars are easier to see there.
Yeah. And Kevin was really good at helping us find it.
Yes.
Oh, we found Kevin's favorite.
Carrie, go ahead.
I don't repeat my point necessarily, and I did not go on the trip, but I saw God in this congregation
Yes.
as plans were developing to go. It was a long time in working, lots of people contributed, worked hard to try to find ways to fund this and encourage people, and that's just another piece of all of this, and I'm glad to be part of that.
And we appreciate the church's support.
Yes, we do. Yes, very much. All right. So, I guess I'm going to open this last question up to just, what was your favorite part of the trip? What's something that you just maybe haven't shared yet that you would like to share about while we were gone on the trip? And I'll give you a minute. One of the things that was really a blessing to me as we went was getting to know you guys a little better. We see each other on Sunday, we go to Bible study and stuff like that, but living in the same house with people for a week, you get to know them in a whole new way. And they were a lot of fun, and they're amazing people. And added to that was also the added blessing of getting to know May and Darla and Dick, who we didn't know at all beforehand, but who were also amazing to spend the week with and get to know. And so for me, that was a huge blessing this week.
I think it was a blessing too that our group is not really large, and we're made up mostly of seniors or getting there. And they found something for us to do, and it worked really well. We fit right in with what we were asked to do.
Well, and we kept amazing. So Marvin was the guy who was kind of in charge of all the grounds, and we kept surprising him because we were getting so much done. At the end of the week, they were having trouble finding stuff keep us busy, because we had accomplished everything they thought we would get accomplished already, so. Somebody else?
On a whole other note, I just wanted to say I got over my fear of flying.
I wanted to say that I enjoyed us when we got together in the evening with our devotions. And we each had a time to do a devotion. And it was nice because everyone was unique in doing that. And I enjoyed those devotions together in the house.
Some of the blessings for me that were really important was that I got to make new connections or reconnect with some of the ranchers that I had met at Green Lake in previous years, like Susan Welch and so on. In fact, all week long she was introducing me to people. I knew Dorinda a long time ago. We met at Green Lake. And also I got to reconnect with Marilyn Showers, wife of Ralph, who established the Rainbow Acres, and that was really special to me too.
And in case you don't, Ralph actually passed away a couple of years ago, but his wife lives right there in Camp Verde, as does his son Mark, correct? Yes.
One of the amazing things was one of the guys, Thomas, he had a puzzle, and it was one of the 50 United States puzzles, and I realized how far all of them lived, and they all came in this one spot. And one of my favorite parts was one of the nights we actually took the puzzle out, and I realized how amazing these people are, knowing almost all of the states and putting them exactly where they go. It was just amazing.
Anybody else? Any last words you would like to add? One of the other things that was a blessing, and Kevin and Wayne alluded to this at the beginning of the service, is how much laughter there was at Rainbow Acres. Among the ranchers and staff, and also among us as we gathered. And so I would encourage you all to take opportunity, and then today, or in the next couple of weeks, to ask whatever questions you have. Dawn, who was the volunteer services coordinator at Rainbow Acres, came to us and said, so should I tentatively block out this date for you next year? And we said, yes, definitely. And it would be amazing if we could take an even bigger group of people next year. I promise you, you will love it. It was amazing, and it was a wonderful experience, and if we start to make plans for next year and can go, I would encourage you to try and make that something that you would do.
I might also mention that we came home with pictures and a little summary of
Yes.
the person and their life and history and so on. These are people who need financial aid to stay there. And we can share those pictures with you. And if you would like to support one of them, not in their entirety, but it's part of it, they would welcome that.
Yeah. It costs $3,900 a month for the ranchers to be there. So if you're not from a wealthy family, that's a lot of money, right? But they have fundraising and all that they do to help support those who no longer have family or no longer have resources to be there. And so, as Dorinda said, they have this Adopt a Rancher program. And like she also said, you don't have to pay the whole $3,900. You could send $30 a month or $50 a month or whatever you could afford. I know John and I for a long time have supported a Compassion International child. So every month we send $38, to Compassion International. And this would be something like that, where you could pray for that young person, or not even, I always want to say young person, but they're not. They were all ages from, I think the youngest person I met was maybe 20, 21, and there were a couple of gentlemen, I think they said 3 left, that had been there for the whole 45 years since it began. And they had to be 18 when they went in, so at least. So that makes them, at least in their mid to late 60s. So people across all age groups.
There are also people there that have no family left.
Right.
living. And if any of you would like to even just send and Christmas cards, et cetera, to them, they would, because they don't have families to do that, so they would appreciate that. And again, any of us could help you find one of those persons that need that.
I was gonna say that 3,900 seems like a lot of money, and it is for a lot of us, but that includes their living facilities, meals, medical care, rides to and from their jobs. They get to take little trips and vacations. They were just getting ready to take a group to the Grand Canyon, while another group was gonna go in town and see a circus. So there's all number of things that money helps support. And when they make things for the gift shop and sell them, they actually get to keep half of that money is theirs. They have bank accounts, it's like a small city.
Yeah, if you're there, you definitely understand why it costs $3,900 a month. I mean, they provide all kinds of things. Yeah, Meg, go ahead.
Also, I was thinking that if you know someone that's development delayed, disabled, you can share this information about Rainbow Acres. You can go on the website, and pull it up and share the information with someone. Because you know that you want your loved one to be taken care of when we're not here anymore. So it's a great place to be. It's a great place. I would really recommend it.
Any last words?
I have a last word.
You have a last word?
My last word
Yes.
is that being there and for that time, being with them, has given me a greater appreciation for people who have those kind of problems that we know, people that are here, people in our city. So I'm just more aware, and maybe that's the best part.
All right.
Right, and keeping with what he's talking about, one of the organizations in our town that serves this population is Lovability, which we contribute to through our mission program. But anybody interested would be welcome very much to participate as a volunteer for Lovability.
All right. Let's have a word of prayer, and then it is the first Sunday of the month, so that means it's Communion Sunday. So let's pray, and then we will celebrate communion.